back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Tim.
And I'm Joey. And thank you for joining us. You may have noticed, but it's November. And I can tell because the rest of the country went off daylight savings time.
Yeah.
And even though we don't ever change in Arizona, we now have to compensate, right? And try and figure out, like, it's changed, right?
Just be mindful of who we're calling and at what time.
Yeah, what time. So now everything's and so now we're no longer on California time and all that stuff. Today we're going to talk about our favorite Thanksgiving recipes. It's November, which, is just amazing. And we're in the holiday season.
We're moving into holiday time.
Yeah.
Favorite time of the year.
This is our favorite time of the year. We love to decorate the house, and our family comes. Tim's mom comes. My mother Dee comes to spend the holidays with us. And it's just a big extravaganza. It's actually really simple, right? But at the same time, it's family and food and all that.
Yeah, it's a time to be thankful, time to share. I love it. So
that's it. It's a time to share, right?
So
really.
What I love also is that you made a playlist.
I did, of all of our favorite Thanksgiving recipes, right? And a lot of things well, first of all, before we even get into that, remember when I was having recovering from the brain tumor?
Yes.
And Juliana from the RedElfShop.com sent me some outfits for Little Red, right?
This is the time to talk about it.
This is. And
unfortunately, you got to plan ahead, right?
Yeah, so Little Red, she sent me this beautiful nurse outfit. If you look right here, Little Red's in his little scrubs, little hospital scrubs, right? He's got his little hypodermic needle and his mask. And then the detail is really cool, because look here.
He's got a little name badge.
He's got his little name ID badge, yeah, that says Little Red RN, Nurse Red, right? So I just want to say thank you to Juliana, the RedElfShop.com, for sending that. Little Red's with us for the rest of the year now, right? And he'll be wearing little outfits that she sent throughout the year to me. Okay. All right, let's get into, we'll do the entrees first, right?
Okay.
I think. All right, let's start off with, if there's our top 12 favorite recipes. And they're all in the playlist below this video. Actually, the recipes will all be linked below this video, but the videos are all in a playlist on Plant-Based Dads, and it's called Holiday Recipes. All right, we're going to start with tofu lasagna. Tofu lasagna, the recipe is right out of the Starch Solution book. It's not my recipe, John McDougall's, or Mary McDougall's, I guess. It's just like traditional lasagna, except the ricotta is made out of tofu. That's the only difference, right? So, and I mean, you're not using meat, but you're using, ricotta and the spices and all that, and it is absolutely delicious, right?
It is.
I would say, with the marinara sauce in that video, we show you how to make the marinara sauce. You don't need to give up like lasagna when you're on the Starch Solution.
Yeah, or pasta, right?
Or any pasta vinegar. In fact,
and you'll have leftovers. I mean, it's
it makes a lot. So that's probably my favorite entree. One of my favorite entrees for the holidays. Okay. We also have a whole video on stuffed shells, and the stuffed shells, it's the same filling.
Again, the ricotta, right? So I really like that as well. And they had some big shells that you had used.
Yeah.
And they were lined up in the pan.
So that's what I like over at lasagna. Lasagna, you're cutting, and hopefully you're cutting and not pushing it down, and it's all, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So by the time you get to the last row, it's sort of...
Yeah.
Anyway, these are nice. And portion control, you can take one and have a little bit of all the other stuff, right? It's nice. And
that's exactly right. You can just grab a shell and you're ready to go for lunch. 2 shells to me they're really big.
Yeah.
2 shells was a really nice meal size with a salad or something, right?
Exactly. And with the ricotta, the ingredients you're putting in, it is flavorful.
It's really good.
The tofu we're using,
I grew up as an Italian, right? And one week we'd have lasagna, and then the next week my parents would be like, "Oh, I'm in the mood for shells this week." I'm like, "It's the same thing."
Yeah.
But when you're Italian, they're not. It's a completely different meal, but it's the same thing. But just so you know, it's the same filling.
Yeah, the extra sauce on it, I mean, it's really nice.
So our third of the 4th entrees that we absolutely love is our lentil loaf.
Yeah, I gotta say I love this recipe because I just digest lentils very easily. I don't feel bloated when I eat this. It's very nice. So, and then again, if you have multiple family members, they want to go barbecue or they want to go more ketchup or something, they can do that. But I don't know. When we're talking about eating so much food, I always think of digestion.
Yeah.
This is a really nice dish for
lentils are really soft in the digestive system, right? There's not a lot of backlash when you take lentils.
Yeah.
So.
If someone wants to talk about lack of protein, you can have that argument.
So lentils are good for you, but they're really easy on the digestive system, right? Especially with diabetes or digestive issues, irritable bowel, all that stuff. So that lentil loaf is delicious, and the topping on it is the whole thing, right?
Okay.
I've changed it up and it's delicious.
Yeah,
so check that out if you haven't. We have that every Thanksgiving. And then a new entry to our entrees this year is our stuffed peppers we just made a few weeks ago. Stuffed peppers with lentils, right?
I think this is something that adds color and beauty to the table. And it's delicious. Again, digested really well.
Yeah, because of the lentils.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing with this. What I say, this is stuffed peppers is a Thanksgiving recipe. Well, it's hearty, but when you use the colors of the orange and the yellow, it's now a fall recipe, right?
Exactly. Doesn't have to be as expensive either. If you
No.
go to Costco and get a bag of like 6 or 9 of these, so we wanted to include that in the list.
And you know what?
I
That
love
should
it.
be a vegan on a budget meal because those peppers are like 50 cents each at Costco, right? They're not that expensive, right?
Yeah.
Maybe $1.
I'm seeing them go up in price, like $1.50 a piece, but yeah. Okay.
But but they're beautiful, right? And you don't have to make 6 of them. The lentils, dry lentils, are really cheap, and dry rice is really cheap. You could make that dish for a bunch of people for just a few dollars.
Yes.
Yes, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it reheated really well. Bringing it to work.
It's delicious.
I think we made it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I would.
Since we liked it.
I bring it to work, and all the teachers are like, "What is that?" I throw in the microwave. Oh, someone's making peppers. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I love it. So that is definitely a great idea. So that is what we have used in the past.
For
and
entrees.
we really love. Yes, for entrees.
Yeah.
Well, let's move in probably to our favorite category.
So Thanksgiving people are like, I mean, those are my entrees, right? But I'm about the side dishes, don't you think?
Yes, exactly.
People are like, oh, you don't eat turkey. What do you eat? All the side dishes. Like the turkey's a speed bump in my way, right? Like when I was a meat eater, I'd eat a piece of turkey or two, but I'd be jumping right to the sweet potatoes, don't you think?
Yeah.
So I feel like as a vegan, if you're not having turkey, who cares? It's just it's an obstacle to get to the side dishes. And my all-time favorite side dish is a sweet potato casserole. I mean, nothing comes close to that, right? Yeah. And that reminds me a lot of we have Thanksgiving dinner at your mom's house, and we would fly up there. And it was freezing cold in Fargo, right? Or in Moorhead, Minnesota, the Fargo-Moorhead area, and we'd all be cooking in the kitchen, and she's like, Joey, you making your sweet potatoes? I'd be like, I am, right? And we would make that, and everyone would eat them.
Yeah, universal dish. No one's going to realize that there's no dairy in it. Mm-hmm. So really love that as well, and it reheats well.
Oh, so delicious, right? The sweet potatoes so creamy. So check that out. That's our all-time favorite. After that, what do you think?
You gotta love stuffing.
Oh man, I love stuffing.
Yeah. So this one was tough because we've made this classic holiday stuffing. It's simple, but sometimes simple with a gravy is so delicious.
Yeah.
It was tough because we had done Epplestein's.
The Epplestein's. It was one of their kids stuffing. Stuffing, right?
So it had such a variety of chewy elements. There was some port, some mushrums. So I love that, but I think it's pretty complicated for the result. You don't like mushrooms.
I hated it because there was that mushroom taste. Yeah. So as much as we have 2 stuffing recipes, we could put the other one in there too. But this classic one, this is one that closely matches what people are expecting.
Exactly, right. And again with gravy. With potatoes, which moves on to our next one.
Well, I'm saying, if you're bougie, make the other stuff recipe, right? But if you're not bougie, if you're simple, make the classic one. But yes, go on with the next one.
There's plenty of other food. So we move into the creamy mashed potatoes with golden gravy.
So those are, again, right out of the Starch Solution book. Yeah. The gravy is the McDougal golden gravy, right? So delicious. And those mashed potatoes, I mean, there's no dairy in them. I use almond milk. I use soy milk in it because I like it to be as white as possible. And I feel like almond milk and oat milk is kind of yellowish.
They're off-white.
Yeah, so I use the soy milk, but you can use whatever you want. And a lot of people have commented, and I've done this before, where they don't even use milk. They use the starchy water from cooking the potatoes.
Yeah, that'll work.
And Nini does that too when she makes that. So you can absolutely use that. I like them to be as white as possible, so I put the soy milk in. But those potatoes with that golden sauce, and I like a little chunky, right?
Yeah.
So good. Don't you think?
Yep. So our next one, the green bean casserole. I mean, you gotta have green beans, right? And I've been seeing them at Costco. So the price and brilliant green. We just made them a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I forgot how delicious it is. So it's really good.
That's another one where you kind of just blanch the beans, right? And then you cook them in the oven. With that, I can't stand mushrooms, but that sauce without the mushrooms doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. And it is absolutely delicious. And it's not so creamy mushroom like a can of cream mushroom like the traditional ones. It's more kind of layered and stuck to it and all that.
Yeah, I also think the onions in that dish made it work. So that is worth taking a look at on the playlist. So
yeah, we didn't specifically make that for Thanksgiving, but when we were eating it, we're like, this is a Thanksgiving dish, right? Yeah. It's a casserole. It's absolutely delicious, right?
Yeah.
So after that, we had a really nice oven roasted potatoes recipe. Yes. And the reason I have this is because it's a Mary's Mini dish, right? There's no sauce on it or any of that.
And given the title, it's not just roasted chunks of potatoes. This looks like scalloped potatoes.
It looks like scalloped.
The thin layered of that with rosemary, the water that or the aquafaba you're adding to it creates a little bit of gravy. So if you want a different, I guess, experience as far as chew, that's nice.
And that's a Mary Mini dish, so you can do that on the Mini all year long. And the potatoes in that one are on the mandolin. I don't always use the mandolin because I'm afraid to slice my fingers off. But the mandolin gets them like so potato chip thin.
Yeah.
Right.
And you cook that in a cast iron, loaf pan or something. It's gonna stay warm for you, so that can be a warm dish while other things are catching up. So I feel like that's a pretty forgiving thing to do when you're doing so much.
So check out that recipe. We feel like that's part of our Thanksgiving whole thing. Last year, to our side dishes, we added the golden corn casserole. Remember that? It was like a pie made of corn, and it was so robusty corn flavor, right? And we absolutely love it. We've been making it since. So that's one of and that recipe people were making it were like, this is delicious, right? You don't think of a corn casserole for Thanksgiving, but it's a beautiful, thick, almost like a pie, a hot pie made of corn, right? And it's got cream corn. And we made our own cream corn in the blender for that recipe. I love that you could just, and it wasn't a lot of ingredients, it was kind of a blender recipe, right? Heat it up, and that it really heated well. Yeah. Don't you think? When you reheated it?
And I think, I'm not sure if we added jalapeno to that, but you can adjust the flavor to who you're entertaining or yourself. So
yeah, that is a good base recipe where you could make it your own and go, hey, it's my recipe, right? So awesome for that. All right, and then the last entry we have is one we've been making for a while, and that is our potato and squash with peppers baked, right?
Again, a dish that looks good, has a little bit of sauce to it that's flavorful.
It's that coating, right? With the breadcrumb. You think, oh, there's not really enough here to make a difference.
Right, but underneath is this moisture combines. So that is really good, colorful.
Those are all amazing.
It's like a half and half. Too,
it's a one plate meal, 50-50 every spoon, right? Because of the peppers and the squash and all that, right? So you don't have to have anything with it. Just eat a bunch of that. That's your 50-50 plate, right? Yeah. So all of these dishes, absolutely great choices for Thanksgiving, and all of them. The only thing that has any fat in it is the tofu lasagna stuffed shells, right? Like nothing else has any fat in it, as far as I know, right? Yeah. Well, okay. So the sweet potato casserole, if you're putting nuts on it, right? But all of this is all whole food, right? Plant-based, other than the tofu, and all great options. This is the kind of stuff we make every year. Remember last year? I stuffed myself so bad, I was sweating on the couch, right? And the next morning I was like, oh, let me step on the scale, here it comes. And I gained a pound, 1 pound on Thanksgiving meal. And by Sunday it was gone, and I was like, all right, let's move on to Christmas.
Yeah, it's noshing all day.
Yeah, and because we're eating foods that are low in calories to start with, right? Without the sauce, we do have sauce and gravy, but without the fat and all that stuff, our stuff being much lighter, we weren't paying the price for 2 weeks after that, right?
Yes, and I think we didn't cover appetizers. If you have people waiting around for food to come, you always can warm up some nuts.
Oh yeah.
More than ever, there's some vegan cheeses out there if you wanted a spread of pears and apples.
Yeah, I don't know the Scotch solution.
Depending on what you're entertaining, who you're entertaining, that's an idea.
Well, and every time Nini invites us over, she's got roasted chickpeas and sesame seeds, in a bowl, right? Just you throw some chickpeas out into the oven, roast them, and put some nuts out.
And we know that pita bread is oil-free from Trader Joe's with oil-free hummus. Yeah. That's always an option as well. So if you were thinking about that, those are options.
All right, so let's not forget about bread. Baking with Tim, right?
That's right.
So bread is part of every meal as far as Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, that same recipe for sourdough bread you can make little buns with, or you can just have the sliced bread, and that can be used as an hors d'oeuvre or with the food if you're having the gravy, right? Or if you're going to have sandwiches the next day with a lentil loaf slice going in a sandwich with some veggies.
So you're talking about your sourdough bread, which is simply amazing. We make that a lot, right? In fact, Tim's mom was here last Thanksgiving. We made it for her, and her husband Mike was like, Oh, I'm like, we were just eating it all the time, and now she makes it at home because the husband just loves it.
Yeah, for neighbors, for relatives.
Yeah.
Everyone's being blessed by that. Like,
yeah, the bread is always a welcome gift.
Yep.
Right.
And we've bought bread from several health food stores, and there's just no flavor like that recipe.
Nothing like your sourdough bread.
So anyway, that's an idea just to think about.
And we do have one other recipe that I'm gonna throw in here for the
What's that?
in the favorites, and that's the one where Lex and I make the holiday cookies,
Oh.
the thumbnail cookies.
Yes, yes.
That usually have the candy kiss, but instead we made our own little Christmas figurines and put them with the dark chocolate and threw those in the cookies. And it's Nini Girl's cookie recipe.
Yeah.
Those cookies are so good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're absolutely delicious, right? All right, guys, that's our video for today. Our favorite Thanksgiving foods. You're gonna absolutely love these. If you haven't made these yet, go ahead and make them. There's no excuses for not having an amazing Thanksgiving dinner on the Starch Solution.
Yeah, if you're brainstorming, here it is.
All right.
I think in the coming weeks we will be putting on some other additional dishes.
Oh yeah,
Vegetable dishes.
We'll be doing Thanksgiving holiday dishes probably for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah.
Some new ones,
Yeah.
but these are our classics. All right,
Yeah.
all right. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you get and click on the bell so you get notified every time we have a new video. Usually every Tuesday. And leave a comment below. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? I know in Canada it's going to be much sooner, so it's going to be any time now.
Yeah.
Do you do Starch Solution for Thanksgiving? Do you just give up and you're like, listen, I'll pick it up in January. I can't worry about it now. You don't have to be guilty over the holidays, right?
And as much as we're walking, I'm not doing that. So,
All right, we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.